Hi, everyone. My name is Marc Isaac Potter, and today we're going to do, I think it's part 3 of studying a Polish-American poet named Czeslaw Milosz. What we've been doing is reading his poetry, reading from the introduction of the book. I looked up Wikipedia. He died in 2004. He won the Nobel Prize in 1980. I think he's originally Polish, but moved to America later, is what I think. I didn't read all the Wikipedia of it. Let me read a little bit of the beginning of this book. This is a book of his, the collected poems, and I've tried putting it on the camera before. Didn't play well, so I'm not going to try it again here. We get through the table of contents. Okay, preface says, this volume was prepared at the initiative of Daniel Halpern, director of Echo Press, and is the result of his proddings. It embraces poems in translation, published previously in 4 volumes, Selected Poems, Bells in Winter, The Separate Notebooks, and number 4, Unattainable Earth, as well as poems, new poems, and many older poems translated here for the first time. The material is organized chronologically, following the contents of the original volumes published in Polish. Thus, the divisions of the English volumes have been abandoned. The title Collected Poems is not intended to suggest that all my poems are scheduled here. This is being written by Czeslaw Milosz himself. English version, or because they have never been rendered into English. The number of poems taken from this particular volume varies. From particular volumes varies. My first slim book, published in 1933, is represented by 1 poem, which we already read in part 2. All right, I'm going to read some poems. Many of his poems are very long, very complicated, but you can always watch the show again to see what you learned the second time. Okay, this poem is called A Book in the Ruins. A Book in the Ruins. A dark building, crossed boards, nailed up, create a barrier at the entrance or a gate when you go in. Here in the gutted foyer, the ivy snaking down the walls is wire, dangling, and over there the twisted metal columns rising from the undergrowth of rubble are tattered tree trunks. This could be brick of the library. You don't know yet. Or the sick grove of day, white aspen where stalking birds you met a Lithuanian dusk stirred. From its silence only in the wails of hawks, now walk carefully. You see whole blocks of ceiling caved in by a recent blast, and above, through the jagged tiers of plaster, a patch of blue. Pages of books lying scattered at your feet are like fern leaves hiding a moldy skeleton, or else fossils whitened by the secrets of Jurassic shells. A remnant of life so ancient and unknown compels the scientist tilting a stone into the light or to wander. He can't know whether, let me read that part over again. Compels the scientist tilting a stone into the light to wonder. He can't know whether it is some dead epic's shadow or a living form. He looks again at the chalk spirals eroded by the rain, the rust of tears. Thus, in a book picked up from the ruins, you see a world erupt and glitter with its distant, sleepy past. Green times of creatures tumbled to the vast abyss and backward. The brows of women, an earring fixed with trembling hand, pearl button on a glove, candidates in the mirror, candelabra in the mirror. The lecterns have been lit. A shiver passes over the instruments. The quadrille begins to curl, subdued by the rustle of big trees swaying in the formal park. She slips outside, her shawl floating in the dark, and meets him in a bower overgrown with vines. They sit close on a bench of stone and watch the lanterns glowing in the jasmine. Or hear this stanza. You hear a goose pen creak. The butterfly of an old lamp flutters slowly over scrolls and parchment. A crucifix, bronze, busts. The lines complain in plangent rhythms that desire is vain. Here a city rises. In the market square, signboards clang. A stagecoach rumbles in to scare a flock of pigeons up. To scare a flock of pigeons up. Under the town clock, in the tavern, a hand pauses in the stock gesture of arrest, while workers walk from the textile mill. Townsfolk talk on the steps, and the hand moves now to evoke the fire of justice, a world gone up in smoke, the voice quavering on the revenge of ages. So the world seems to drift from these pages, like the mist clearing on a field of at dawn, only when two forms are drawn, together with their legibility. Disturbed, do you see that immortality? It is not very different from the present, and is for its sake. You pick a fragment of grenade which pierced the body of a song on Daphnis and Chloe. You long ruefully to have a talk with her, as if it were what life prepared you for. How is it, Chloe, that your pretty skirt is torn so badly by the winds of that hurt? Real people who in eternity sing, the hours, sun in your hair appearing and disappearing. How is it that your breasts are pierced with shrapnel and the oak groves burn, while you, charmed, not caring at all, turn to run through the forests of machinery and concrete and haunt us with the echoes of your feet? If there is such an eternity lush through the short-lived, that's enough. But how? Hush. We were predestined to live with the scene grows dim, and the outline of a Greek ruin blackens the sky. It is noon, and wandering through a dark building, you see workers sitting down to a fire. A narrow ray of sunlight kindles on the floor. They have dragged out heavy books and made a table of them and began to cut their bread. In good time, a tank will clatter past, a streetcar chime. And that says Warsaw, 1941. Okay, the next piece is called A Day of Generation. A Day of Generation. When once enmeshed in the motions of their legs, cyclists on the highway lean into a curve. in air that is childish, rosy, and already prepared for other forms, for the outline of non-mortal feet. When, clipping through the mist with glinting legs, they enter the morning some human city, and roadside flowers rush past them in the haze, and the poplar phantoms lilt in space. A peasant woman bent under a blanket, walking at dawn, cuts across the crowd of invisible dwellers whose towering chambers are not to be discovered by her eye. It's enough to raise your hand to touch somebody's cheek to find a satin dress, a face wearing the smile of ancient days, a foam-like chain, a shell-encrusted comb, a wizard taking a wand or a chisel will call, "Let it be." Bring forth from the air a carriage and four in immobile speed, or a bronze forearm punctured by the rain. Where there was a circle of white void, now little reddish flames are running to and fro. Thus the air grew thick from being touched. Layer after layer changed into waterfalls. They turn the helices of stone-hard flowers. The whole earth smells of lightning as in spring. A wand, a chisel follows from your hands, perish. Too late. An unrestrained chorus pushes on, ranks of reed pipes of adroit fingers. The smoke of banners claps right over them. Abysses struck go out one by one. For the sake of the past, small as a plaything, for the dome of wizards as sad as fate. Monuments wet with dew shine on the squares. Then glints of legs clip under the break of day. There is also a peasant woman with her basket, and flowers sway under the haze. Now somebody else calls you in. Now somebody else summons you. Where you are a self and a not self. Then it says the word envoy in the middle of this page as though it may be a different poem. I don't know, but let's go with it. It is your destiny to move your wand, to wake up storms, to run through the heart of storms, to lay bare a monument like a nest in a thicket, though all you wanted was to pluck a few roses. Warsaw, 1942. Oh my goodness. I'm trying to do the best I can, kids. Seriously. I want to take a break, but I don't think I can take a break right now. I'm going to have some of that secret sauce, which you're not allowed to see. Anyway, this is TV station you're watching is KMVT, or you may be watching this on YouTube. The show is called In Our Community, and my name is Marc Isaac Potter, and we're just reading some of the poetry of Czeslaw Milosz. So let's get back at it if we can here. I'm going to skip this. I want to skip this next poem, but the title is like Italian, Campo dei Fiori. I don't know what that means. Oh, here, it might tell us in the poem. The title is Campo, C-A-M-P-O, dei, D-E-I, Fiori, F-I-O-R-I. In Rome, on the Campo dei Fiori, baskets of olives and lemons, cobbles spattered with wine, and the wreckage of flowers, Vendors cover the trestles with rose pink fish. Armfuls of dark grapes heaped on beach down. On this same square they burned Giordano Bruno. Henchmen kindled the pyre, close pressed by the mob. Before the flames had died, the taverns were full again, baskets of olives and lemons again on the vendors' shoulders. I thought of the Campo dei Fiori in Warsaw by the sky carousel, one clear spring evening, to the strains of a carnival carnival tune. The bright melody drowned the salvos from the ghetto wall, and couples were flying high in the cloudless sky. At times, wind from the burning would drift dark kites along the riders on the carousel, caught petals in midair. That same hot wind blew open the skirts of the girls, and the crowds were laughing on that beautiful Warsaw Sunday. Someone will read as moral that the people of Rome or Warsaw haggle, laugh, make love as they pass by martyrs' pyres. Someone else will read of the passing of humans, of things human, of the oblivion born before the flames have died. But that day I thought only of the loneliness of the dying, of how when Giordano climbed onto his burning, he could not find in any human tongue words for mankind who live on. Already they were back at their wine, or peddled their white starfish, baskets of olives and lemons. They had shouldered to the fair. He already distanced, as if centuries had passed. Well, they paused just a moment for his flying in the fire. Those dying here, the lonely, forgotten by the world, our tongue becomes for them the language of an ancient planet, until when all is legend and many years have passed, on a new Campo dei Fiori, rage will kindle at a poet's word. Warsaw, 1943. Okay, now there's a couple of short pieces, and I think I'm going to keep those for the end in case we wind up with only 1 or 2 minutes left and we have something to read. In fact, I'm going to put the bookmark in there so that we can find it again easily. I should have trimmed my mustache a little bit, huh? Okay. Oh, and there's some more short ones and some more short ones. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize we'd have so many and more. Really? How is this possible? Gee whiz, guys. Wow. I figured the whole book would be very long poems, but some of them are short. This poem is called Father Explains. There were that ray. This is really what it says. There were that ray touches the plain, and the shadows escape as if they really ran. Warsaw stands open from all sides, a city not very old but quite famous. Farther, where strings of rain hang from a little cloud, under the hills with an acacia grove, is Prague. Above it, a marvelous castle, shored against a slope in accordance with old rules. What divides this land with white foam is the Alps. The black means fir forests. Beyond them, bathing in the yellow sun, Italy lies, like a deep blue dish. Among the many fine cities that are there, you will recognize Rome, Christendom's capital, by those round roofs on the church called the Basilica of St. Peter. And there, to the north, beyond a bay, where a level bluish mist moves in the waves, Paris tries to keep pace with its tower and reigns in its herds of bridges. Also, other cities accompany. Also, other cities accompany Paris. They are adorned with glass, arrayed in iron. But for today, that would be too much. I'll tell the rest another time. And that is the end of this poem. We have a lot more coming. Okay, we got 6 minutes left, which is good. There's a lot of short ones, so let's read some of the short ones. A parable of the poppy. On a poppy seed is a tiny house. Dogs bark at the poppy seed moon, and never, never do those poppy seed dogs imagine that somewhere there is a world much larger. The earth is a seed, and really no more. While other seeds are plants and stars, and even if there were 100,000, each might have a house and a garden, all in a poppy head. The poppy grows tall, the children run by, and the poppy sways. In the evening, under the rising moon, dogs bark somewhere, now loudly, now softly. The next piece is called By the Peonies. The peonies bloom white and pink, and inside each, as in a fragrant bowl, a swarm of tiny beetles have their conversation, for the flower is given to them as their home. Mother stands by the peony bed, reaches for one bloom, opens its petals, and looks for a long time into peony lands, where one short instant equals a whole year. Then she lets the flower go, and what she thinks she repeats aloud to the children and herself. The wind sways the green leaves gently, and speckles. The wind sways the green leaves gently, and speckles of light flick across their faces. Okay, my friends, we're doing it. We're going for it here. It's called Faith. I don't have a lot to say. Welcome to KMVT, obviously. My name's Marc Isaac Potter. I think I said all that before on this tape. And my show is called In Our Community. Today we're reading the poetry of Czeslaw Milosz. So this one is called Faith. Faith is in you whenever you look at a dewdrop or a floating leaf and know that they are because they have to be. Even if you close your eyes and dream up things, the world will remain as it has always been, and the leaf will be carried by waters of the river. You have faith also when you hurt your foot against a sharp rock, and you know that rocks are here to hurt our feet. See the long shadow that is cast by the tree? We and the flowers throw shadows on the earth. What has no shadow has no strength to live. This piece is called Hope. Hope is with you when you believe. The earth is not a dream, but living flesh. The sight, touch, and hearing do not lie. That sight, touch, and hearing do not lie. That all things you have ever seen here, like a garden looked at from a gate. You cannot enter, but you're sure it's there. Could we but look more clearly and wisely, we might discover somewhere in the garden a strange new flower and an unnamed star. Some people say we should not trust our eyes, but that there is nothing, just a seeming. These are the ones who have no hope. They think that the moment we turn away, the world behind our back ceases to exist, as if snatched up by the hands of thieves. Okay, we got some short poems here. Got about 2 or 3 minutes left. And let's read one called Love. Love means to learn to look at yourself the way one looks at distant things. For you are only one thing among many, and whoever sees that way heals his heart without knowing it from various ills. A bird and a tree say to him, friend. Then he wants to use himself and things so that they stand in the glow of ripeness. It doesn't matter whether he knows what he serves, but who serves best doesn't always understand. This next short poem is called The Excursion to the Forest. The trees so huge you can't see treetops. The setting sun fixes a rosy flame on every tree, as on a candlestick, and tiny people walk a path below. Let us raise our heads, hold hands, so that we don't lose our way in the tangled grass. The night has begun to put seals on the flowers. Excuse me, boy. And there above a feast, jugs of gold, red wine is being poured in aspen copper, and an airborne coach carries gifts for the invisible kings or for the bears. The excursion in the forest. I think that's about it for today, folks. We're out of time. Here comes the little ding. There's a little ding. Hey, you guys, thank you for listening. I appreciate it very much. My email is M as in Mark, I as in Isaac, P as in Potter, C as in communication. That's MIPC441 @gmail. If you want to drop me a line, you can. And I want to thank you for being here today. Thank you so much.